house even or not. If one team's clearly making more indiscretions, which I felt like Australia in this game were clearly making more ruck indiscretions than England were.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Because someone's been told, well, if you have a good game in the England-Australia match, you'll be doing the final, lad.
But he didn't, did he?
No, because he didn't have a good game because of all the makeup calls.
I don't actually think
that's not the reason England
did a great
lost.
job in the final either. But
yeah. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that Lord Mayor's show in a minute.
We've got one.
Cutthroat Jake. We will not deny him his opportunity to speak. Looking back on our 3 matches, I'm left with the realisation that the person most at fault was Wayne Bennett. He has tried to field a team to match his tactics. Instead, he should have been choosing the tactics to match his team. As for picking Brown in the halves, that selection was crazy, but I don't think it cost us the game. England have looked rudderless and uncreative since Sinfield's retirement.
Questionable.
We've looked rudderless and uncreative since prior to that, I would say. We need more creative and game controlling. We need a more creative and game controlling half than Widdop. Tompkins may be a good call if uninjured. What do you think to that? Tompkins in the halves.
I'm not sure you can go Tompkins and Williams.
Yeah, maybe a touch flyweight there.
No, because Williams is as good a defender as any of those other names out there. He's the best defensive half-back in that squad by a mile.
Tompkins.
But he's no more lightweight than Brown or Gale. I totally don't. Yeah, I totally think so.
Yeah.
But I just think I'm not sure it'd work. I'm not sure the balance would work, but it might get a chance to work. If we can get injuries, they might be forced into that situation.
Been a good long time since he's played that half.
Consistently, yeah.
So we shall see. Right, should we talk about the final then, Mark?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's not too late. I will get you out of here by 10 o'clock if we play our card. We'll play our card. Are you upset with me because you thought I questioned George Williams?
No, I'm not upset with you for that. I'm not upset with you for anything.
We'll talk about this off air.
I'm not upset.
Right.
I'm frustrated talking about that game and that squad and
let's move on.
And it winds me up.
Let's move on to the Festival of Rugby League.
We should have been the ones getting hammered by Australia at Anfield. That's what annoys me.
Absolutely. We should be getting our asses handed to us this week. Okay, so Sunday night then, down at Anfield, or Sunday afternoon I should say, Australia took home the Four Nations and regained their world number 1 ranking with a 34 points to 8 victory over the Kiwis. Tries for Touchy Ferguson, 2 for Josh Dugan, Trent Merrin, Darius Boyd and Boyd Cordner. I got me confused for a second then. 5 goals from JT, and New Zealand's tries both came through Jordan Carhu, neither of which were converted. 24-0 at half time. Had me thinking that when they started playing in our direction we'd see maybe 20-30 more points. The Kiwis managed to stem the flow and draw and almost win. No, they lost the second half by 2 points, didn't they?
What is it with us and international games and the ends that we're at, and maybe not seeing hardly any action?
Maybe we should throw an extra £5 each at it and sit somewhere on the sidelines, possibly. But it was a good game in terms of you see high quality players. It was over as a competition after 10 minutes.
I actually thought through the whole contest there was some good physicality from both sides, and some good skill and execution from both sides, but it was infrequent, and the in-between parts was Australia showing control and precision and New Zealand showing no control and no precision, basically. That's the whole. That's my review.
Yeah. No, that was it. Well, look, I mean, I've not watched it back, and I was moderately distracted by. Well, first of all, peeling quite a lot of starbursts for Erin was one thing, and then picking them out of her mittens, and then pulling a bubble out of the bloke behind his beer, all contributed to me not following the game very, very closely. But what bits I saw, enjoyable, attractive rugby league at times. Some of the big hits that went in. Jason Taumalolo. His hit on Cooper Cronk was just earth-shattering, wasn't it? And so there's bits and pieces like that.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant in patches again.
I still haven't watched.
Probably didn't get enough of the ball, if anything.
Yeah. I still haven't watched back to see whether or not Solomon Akata did put his feet up at Josh Dugan. I don't know if you've seen it back yet.
I think if anything, he was protecting himself a little bit from what was going to be a clattering hit. This is the thing, you're allowed to fall on a guy as forcefully as you want almost on the floor as long as you don't clean up his head. but a player can't protect themselves a little bit. I don't think it was kicking out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyway, it started a bit of a scuffle, didn't it? And everyone around us got a bit excited about that.
Bit of an argument. Even Erin liked it. Are they having an argument, Daddy? Like, yeah, they will do now, son. Son, darling.
Yeah,
that was a Freudian slip, wasn't it? Me and Eric. Okay.
You look at that Nationwide commercial thinking, that's what I could have.
That little ginger boy could have been my... Do you know what? I wouldn't... that was a Freudian slip and I wouldn't change her for the fucking world, mate.
Right.
Let's talk about the rugby. Yes, who stood out for us?
Well, Blake Ferguson, I mean, despite operating on the same sort of moral code that Donald Trump explains to Billy Bush. Obviously, he saw that video 2 years ago and not just now.
The Donald Trump of rugby league.
And whilst I can't approve of him as a human being, he played really well in this game.
He did, and
I really wish that he wouldn't.
Well,
because he's going to continue to be able to perform at the highest level, despite not having respect for boundaries or women. And 149 metres, 2 clean breaks, 3 successful offloads. Some remarkable pieces of skill. Some great takes as well under some tough pressure actually in his own end as well. To be completely honest,
very strong
solid.
Again,
Valentine Holmes on the other wing had 113 metres at 1 clean break. He looked like he was away a couple of times. I'm actually slightly disappointed in his pace that he didn't score on a couple of those opportunities where he broke free. There was that great passage of play in the first half, wasn't there, where the Kiwis were throwing it around and they were coming at us to the corner where we were, and then it just fell loose. Holmes picked it up and was away.
He thought he was going to get through, didn't he?
And I was cheering both ways. I was cheering the Kiwis for their play, then I was cheering him for seeing if he could make it, because it was so exciting, that passage of play. And there were passages of plays like that throughout the game. They were just... I think it was more entertaining than the game that they played at Coventry, let's put it that way.
Certainly, absolutely. Val Holmes, bigger in real life than I thought.
Well, most of these blokes are, aren't they?
That's it. Speaking of which, Shannon Boyd, what do you make it? The Sligo Thor coming down from the mountains.
Yeah, he was okay.
Always puts a smile on my face.
David Clemmer, though, came off the bench and was far more impressive. He went at nearly 10 metres a carry again, 147 metres. So that was brilliant. Boyd Corner, 104 metres. He got... a deserved try right near the end, didn't he?
Yes.
For the Kiwis, 190 metres from Sean Kenny Dowell kind of was the pick. Defensively, Kevin Proctor had 41 tackles and no missed tackles. I actually thought Kevin Proctor was looking threatening in the first 5-10 minutes when the Kiwis were attacking. He made a couple of half breaks and looked like he was going to be a factor. But it turned out not to be, and the bigger factor was his hair bunch mate, Tohu Harris, who just wasn't up to it. And the area he wasn't up to it wasn't, the constant trying to dummy and then carry, which was no one was ever going to fall for his dummy.
He just does it every time, doesn't he? That's the problem.
But it was his defence. I mean, they were picked on him, and the Darius Boyd tried that never was but was given. You couldn't overturn it on video evidence. Ben Thaler could have, but no other video referee.
Thaler would have, as a point of principle.
Could have overturned it because it wasn't clear enough. But I'm pretty sure he probably didn't get it down. But anyway, that said, he was shown for his complete lack of pace. And then in I want to say the first Dugan try, the one where he hit that great line inside the winger, but the winger was lost at sea because he had 2 men around him and didn't know what to do. But that was because the centre had gone in to cover that a quicker man was running towards Harris because they knew he didn't have the lateral ability to get across. Obviously, he's been buried a little bit in the second row at the Storm and supported by must be great efforts from inside him and outside him because he's not. He did not show, unless there's something wrong with him elsewhere, like injury or
possibly. That's a factor, isn't it? Or
he was thinking about other things, but he was so flat-footed in defence, not just on the tries that he conceded, but in general play. And it cost them. And I was really surprised that they didn't change it up, to be completely honest, when the game was still on, because you could see it already in the first half. The tries came down that side for the Aussies, really. And then the softest try of them all was probably the Trent Merrin try, where he just carried a few of them over with him. They didn't defend the line like they defended their line at Coventry. And the only reason they were anywhere near in it at Coventry was how they defended their line. So
It's just another example of if you don't turn up against the Australians, you get done.
And the completion was terrible. 14 errors, 66% completion compared to 84% for the Aussies. That doesn't help you, does it?
No, not in the least. Not in the least. Shall we get to some fan feedback on this one then? Colin Render, he said, too many errors and penalties in the first half by New Zealand, giving Australia good field position. A team as good as Australia will punish you every time in these positions. A bit better in the second half, but Australia far better than any team in the Four Nations this year. Cutthroat Jake says, what a team Australia were. They were helped by another woeful performance from New Zealand. Why couldn't they have played that against us? Played like that against us? But they were still a phenomenal team. I would say we might stand a chance after Thurston and Cronk retire, but I've been hoping for that since the days of Wally Lewis and Peter Sterling. Fair play. Mark Butler said, a good day out at Anfield, but disappointing not to get a contest. New Zealand were hell-bent on being as loose as possible, and that isn't going to cut it against a Kangaroo team that looked like it had more gears. Positive turnout given internationals seem a bit of a hard sell. Yeah, there was over 40,000 on, wasn't there?
Yeah, just over.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the end there was 130,000 or so ish for the whole tournament.
Yeah, we did some sums, didn't we, on the way out quickly. Alf Garnett, he said, whilst sat in Tromsø, that's in Norway for the uninitiated.
Well, he's called himself Alfred. He's obviously gone a bit more middle class. That's why he's gone travelling to see the Northern Lights.
Or is he just giving himself his...
on Brid Beach and hoping that they come into view?
No, he's using his Nordic name.
Oh, right.
That's what I think he's doing.
Is he?
He's gone Nordic.
Either way, it's quite a trip.
With full Alfred, yeah, I'm thoroughly jealous, absolutely. He says, I can only say that the game just passed the time. Australia always were going to put on a show. Well done, lads, but it wasn't as good a show as the lights put on. Says obviously enjoyed his holiday more than the Rugby League. And I don't blame him. Anyway, I'm waiting for the comments about how England would have put on a better effort than New Zealand. Tough, we were never going to compete, but it was a builder for what's to come. Well done, Australia. Bulla bus. And just a final word on player burnout. We got some feedback in from Cutthroat Jake again. He says, we have a conflict between our players playing too much and the clubs neefing all the games to make money. I'm not sure if I'm... Needing, thank you. Very good. How about this change to cover both needs? Restrict the number of league matches a player can play in.
Oh, it was him who said this. And what did Earl Crabtree say?
Oh, no idea. I didn't read the link. I just thought it was going to be some Crabtree nonsense. Although now I have prefaced everything that John was about to say by calling it unimplementable nonsense.
It is, though, isn't it? That's the problem.
Well, let me get to the end of his point, because he does contribute very heavily and very well.
Crabtree just said play less games then.
Yeah. Play less games. Something like that. Restrict the number of league matches a player can play in. If they say had to miss 5 games, this would also help the youth players. They would gain much needed experience, as the teams would have to decide which matches a player would miss in favour of their young players. In theory, that is a good idea. In practice, I think that
it is. It's like you said, it's unimplementable.
A nightmare to implement.
It's so difficult to actually rationalise it. Yes, it would be great. What would make it possible is if fans turned up to games and sold out the games that the reduced games that we would have in the regular season, then they wouldn't need the extra games to make the money and to sell it, to flog it to Sky, to flog it to the sponsors, that sort of thing.
You'd end up with fans waiting to see what the 17 was midweek before deciding whether or not they were going to turn up for games, or whether or not they were going to drive over and watch games.
You would, and you'd just have them criticising it, moaning about it. There's no perfect solution until we just buy into the game more.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the Four Nations then, and congratulations.
So Earl must have said something similar, because I remember reading that today, what Earl Crabtree said.
Or maybe you read this today and then something about Earl Crabtree.
I did, yeah. Maybe at the same time when I went on the computer to send you these.
Let's put a positive spin on it, though. Cutthroat Jake could potentially be coming up with the same sort of ideas as a rugby league heavyweight like Earl Crabtree, a man who's been playing the sport for 20 years.
It's still just difficult to... I would love it that we had less games. I would love it that... I wouldn't want to quote the players. I'd have the less games. Yeah. But it's the same thing. It's what John says. It's like an impossible equation to balance out.
Yeah.
Because the clubs need the income, the revenue stream from the, say, I don't know...
From a good cup run and
8,000 people spending 20 quid on the
in a playoff
tickets.
match, yeah, absolutely. It's worth a bob or two at the teams, isn't it? Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of the big TV deal that they have in Australia, which funds a tremendous amount of that. We have a much smaller one.
Yeah, and the players don't have the power over here. The broadcaster does.
Yeah,
and the RFL somehow does.
Yeah.
And in a way that's positive because it means the players don't get away from the public.
Mm-hmm.